folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined by my three merry misfit cohorts. We have with us everyone's favorite teacher of the Kirby variety.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
And we have,
How's it going?
next to me in what looks like a Galaxy X, we have our favorite RP hologram, Artie.
Hello.
And we have our resident Neela with us again this week.
Hey, howdy ho.
Who's finally back from his work excursion and everything. But we've got some stuff to get through this week for you guys, so let's go ahead and dive right in. A big thing coming very quickly for our console players out there is the Allied Flight Deck Cruiser. This is a bundle we got fairly recently on PC and everything just before the Miracle Worker ships. This is a new set of stuff coming for you guys. This is the three ships you'll be getting is the Tellarite Prelum Flight Deck Assault Cruiser, the Orion Blackguard Flight Deck, and the Suliban, what is that, Silic Flight Deck? So basically these are new stuff you're going to be getting based off of some of the things from Enterprise. As an example, let's take a look at the Prelum.
But yeah, it's also Silic. Silic.
So, yep, I butchered the name, not surprising. But
No, apparently you just haven't watched Enterprise, so there you go.
I couldn't remember the name, but it's been a while since it's been a while since I've watched Enterprise, but anyway. For our Starfleet ship, we have a hull strength of 46,575 at 50, 54,000 at 60, shield modifier of 1. It is a 5-3 on weapons layout, 4 device slots. Bridge officer seats are a Lieutenant Tactical, Lieutenant Commander Tactical / Command, Commander Engineering, Ensign Science, and Lieutenant Commander Universal. 3 tactical spots, 5 Engineering, 2 Science, base turn of 9, then has +5 to all subsystem power. You get 1 hangar bay preloaded with Tellarite Adamant Fighters. You get the Universal Console, the IFF Manipulator, full Starship Mastery Package for Flight Deck Cruisers. Then you get the Majority Minority Starship Trait. You also get the Cruiser Command Array, which is the Shield Frequency Modulation and Attract Fire. And then on the Fleet version, you get a additional Tactical Console, it appears. And then some extra hull capacity and stuff. I believe they're mostly the same, if I'm not mistaken, on overall layout. Yep, they are. And they do have fleet versions, which I'm pretty sure I already said that. For our IFF Manipulator, it is a console that provides a passive boost to critical severity with directed energy weapons and engineering readiness. Then it can be equipped on any of the cruisers or their fleet variants, can only have 1 each. But it says the specialized suite of IFF scramblers may be used to temporarily force enemies to fight amongst themselves for a short period of time. Primary target of the ability will be assigned as a primary opposing threat to all of their nearby allies, while targeting sensors become incapable of separating friend from foe. In addition to this, the primary target's damage resistance will also be reduced by an amount inversely proportionate to the number of foes confused. Debuff is stronger, fewer foes are confused. Yeah, try saying that 10 times fast.
No.
But then for their Starship trait, you get the Majority Minority trait, and depending on if the allies outnumber your foes or you are outnumbered by foes, you get a different trait, or a different ability, I should say. If your allies are in the majority, you get increased damage resistance, shield hardness, and hull regeneration. If you're in the minority, meaning you're outnumbered by foes, then you get increased damage output and flight speed. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting on the trait there, but it does give a little bit on some of the fighters and stuff you can get. But thoughts on this set of ships, guys?
I think it's a good buy because they're really good
Yeah.
ships all on their own. That's basically my point from it.
I agree with that. They are pretty good ships. And people do seem to have a lot of fun with them.
And what about you, Sir Neela? What are you seeing on the console side of things for these ships? Who I think may have just stepped away for a moment.
No.
Oh, whoops. Don't know how that got muted. I was like, well, wait a minute, I'm talking. Oh, are they not? Okay.
He had a microphone failure and muted his microphone, folks. That is the story he's sticking with.
No, I would be looking on console, but apparently, for some reason the game keeps crashing. Right back to the home screen.
Oh, lordy.
Ruh-roh.
But everything I've been hearing, though, is I like him so far.
That's good. But, anyways, we will have this in our notes for you guys, so you can check out the blog. I've been hearing pretty good stuff on the PC side as well. So if you're somebody that enjoys carriers or flat deck cruisers, this is a set you might want to check out of ships. But
Orion ship all the way.
of course, he's for the Orion ship. I'm not surprised. But moving along, we have our PC patch notes for November the 2nd.
Alrighty, so November 2nd we had a PC patch, and it was not as lengthy as the last week's patch notes.
Oh my god.
Those were, I know, right? Those were novel. Okay, so big ones. Resolved an issue with the scoreboard UI,
What is
UI
a
that would occasionally-
scoreboard?
I don't know. That would occasionally cause a crash. Resolved an issue with shadow generation that would occasionally cause a crash. Resolved an issue with the Foundry where players could only preview the first map. And resolved an issue with the Foundry where published missions could not be accepted. The /friend comment command has been restored. Resolved an issue that caused some some emotes to not display facial expressions. And Colony World Fleet Holding changed threshold for getting batteries from minigames. Breakpoints are now every 100 points with maximum reward at 900 points. So, yay! You only got to score 900 on that minigame to get 250 batteries. Now, this is only for batteries, folks, not for the other two. And, let's see, resolved an issue that prevented the colony invasion from starting, and modified position of Shield Generator 2 due to an issue that caused it to occasionally spawn inside a rock. There are some Miracle Worker ones. Let's see. It has to do with text descriptions, ship store descriptions, and here's one. All Romulan Miracle Worker descriptions now correctly list singularity powers instead of cruiser command auras, and Miracle Worker warbirds now correctly have 40 base power in all subsystems instead of 50. So they have fixed all the Miracle Worker warbirds, so you now have the appropriate base power levels. There's some other things. Quality of life. Power boards and floaters can now be used from inventory instead of having to be slotted in your device slots.
Yay!
Yep. Yes, I know. The highly specialized Starship trait can now work with Miracle Worker Bridge Officer abilities.
All of my yes.
Yes, all of my yes, I know, right? Let's see. Resolved an issue where the projectile damage modifier on Fleet Colony secondary
Culinary.
deflectors. I'm telling you, Fleet Colony secondary deflectors displayed as energy damage instead of projectile damage. Secondary deflector tooltips will no longer show durations. Gravitic induction platform is now immune to warp core breaches. Miracle Worker specialization passive punch it no longer plays effects in social zones.
Aw.
Somebody was abusing it. Resolved an issue that would prevent the player from activating a mine ability for 30 seconds after activating one. Romulan and Klingon ships that do not have registry numbers. Ships no longer display a cost for re-registry. And resolved an issue that prevented Miracle Worker Bridge Officer abilities from being treated as specialist abilities in some cases. And there you go. Known issues editing missions in the Foundry is temporarily unavailable, and expedient care and expedient repairs are currently not functioning as expected. That does not mean that they are expected not to function. That means they are not functioning the way they want them to. Yes, that was pointed out to me. that could be read incorrectly.
Yep.
Yep. So that is the patch notes for November 2nd.
You know, I think I'm just more excited about the power boards and floaters now being able to be used from inventory than anything else.
That should have been a thing to begin with.
I know.
I know, right? That's what I'm hearing from all of the guys I talk to on TeamSpeak as well. And everywhere else is that
Every
they're
other game
happiest
does
about
it.
the power boards and floaters.
Well, now STO does it too, so that's a good thing.
Yay! Alright, moving on. Next we have the lifetime subscription sale.
Like we do.
Yes. This is for PC, I believe. Yes. The lifetime subscription sale. I'll just read it from what it says here. Hailing all captains. We are pleased to announce a sale on lifetime subscription November 2nd at 8 a.m. At November 2nd to December 7th. Bringing down the price down to by 100 to. All right, so it's going to $199.99. So it's now a perfect time to get this. You get a whole bunch of free things. You also get to play as the Talaxian and all the other veteran rewards. If you go to the thread here, you're able to click on the little hyperlinks that they have here to take you to what rewards you get. That's actually more or less straightforward from there. They just click on the link. Huh.
Yes. But yeah. So for those of you that were listening, that's essentially it's $200.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Very cheap, very
$200.
happy to get all the stuff. You get pretty cool ships out of it and cool outfits as well if you're into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have the
Definitely
rewards
you
pulled up.
Oh, cool.
And
Okay.
as I'm kind of scrolling down, y'all can see you get a few titles, you get some respecs, get some extra little stuff. Then at 600 days, you get a free Vice Admiral ship token, which does count the ships from the sea store. That's how I actually got my Tier 5 Voyager ship, essentially. Then, at 1,000 days, or if you buy the lifetime, free Starship slot, then you get access to the Manticore, the whatever the heck that is for the KDF.
Q.
Thank you. And the Dynasis?
Dynase.
Thank you. Apparently I can't words
Dinosaur
tonight.
board, yeah.
With the Romulans. Then you also get the Chimera, the bag... words.
Peghug.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then since I've butchered every other name, would you care to pronounce that last one, good sir?
The Danos.
Apparently I suck at words today. But anyway, now that we've established I can't English, but
You're one of the Greys.
Yeah, so,
huh.
but I mean, I think really the biggest thing from this is you get the 500s in a month, which
Yes.
essentially, if you're one of those people who you know are going to hang around for a really long time, like me, it's definitely worth it. I mean, even if you get nothing else out of it, it basically pays for itself with the Zen in 40 months. It takes 40 months to build up the amount of Zen that equals the amount of money you put in. Which most people don't realize that's how long it takes. But if you think you're going to stick around for a few years, like I did, then by all means, just go ahead and buy the lifetime.
And even then,
Yeah.
we did actually total this up one day, and I've, for the love of God, got to find that file where I wrote that down at. But we actually sat down, me and Kirby did, and then may I actually had Neela and Artie with me too. I don't remember who exactly
Yes.
I had with, but we sat down and we totaled this up. We looked at it. It's like, okay, what would this normally cost for a 3-pack of ships? Since you're getting 2 of them, what would this cost for the upgrade tokens? What would this cost for the respecs? What would it cost for the costumes? And it really quickly, especially while it's on sale, far surpassed the $200. So you were actually getting quite a bit of bang for your buck in this case, compared to if you had bought all of this individually. But
Very, very true.
Yeah. Yes.
One good thing for getting lifetime on console, you can do it just from in-game dill to Zen.
still kind of jealous over you console guys for being able to do that. But
Yeah.
anyways, we will have this in the notes for you guys. You can check that out. It contains the links to the rewards screen I was just on and everything. But the sale is going from November the 2nd until December the 7th. So if you've ever considered buying Lifetime on PC, this is a very good time to do it. But speaking of console, we have the Phoenix Prize Pack returning to console. We are Resident Neela.
There we go. Just had to wait for it to finish loading back up. The browser's being slow today. But yeah, from the 2nd of this week to November 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific, I have the opportunity to get the one free Phoenix Prize Pack from Josana Station or DS9. And then with, I believe it's $750 deal for one prize pack, and 10,000-ish or so for a 10 pack. We'll be able to open those, get either uncommon, rare, or very rare prize packs. And then enough of those, you better redeem those for either Jemadar ship, bulwark, or if you get everything in one tier, you can take a very rare down to blue. Make sure you get everything that you want in the rare section. Then any rare that you get, put down to uncommon. Get anything in the uncommon section you want, and then if you get everything that you want, you can always get the universal tech upgrades, which sorry, it was 4,500 dough and 40,000 dough for a 10 pack. And like, for example of it, epic prize is the Kubali Samsar, which if you are doing it, don't get the Kubali Samsar from this, because you can easily get it from the Arc app on console for, I believe, 1,000 Arc points, and that's no stretch to get, and you'll have that unlocked for your account. So there's no reason to go ahead and do that.
Nice tip.
Nice.
Ultra rare is Jemadar attack ship, Breach Ogret, Breaching Corvette, Breaching electric ship. Very rare red mana capacitor, which is a very nice console, just for that extra stat boost. Mirror Universe Agony Field Rifle, which I know I'm going to be in the minority on this one, but most people don't like when you use the secondary field, but I find it fun. Cause just watching them at like 20 HP in an agony field bubble, just slowly just get agonized to death. It's quite fun. Rare Crystalline's Absorption Matrix, Hakif Mirror Universe, Doff, Mariah, Galara Mar Duty Officer, which is a very good Doff. I would recommend you pick her up. A Crystalline Sword, which is another version, not a great version of a quote-unquote lightsaber, as the Nukara one, but it's still a decent one. Uncommon, you can get a bunch of emotes, which, why not, the emotes. Holographic Combat Drone, Dual Encrusted Horda, a Mugata Pet, Phoenix Shuttle, which every time I'm getting like one Phoenix Shuttle every time. So I have like 5 Phoenix Shuttles in my ammo tree. Not because of not the pet, but when you get the free box, you'll get a Phoenix ship for the ammo tree. Radon Tribble, Solanane Tribble, Molrehan Tribble, and Crossfire Tribble, which will all triple test rewards. So that's nice that they brought those where you can get those again. Anything from you guys?
The Phoenix Tech upgrade. That's my favorite.
Specifically left that out just to annoy Kirby.
Just to annoy me.
Just like when we say Admiralty.
Admiralty.
Not that I would go
See,
there.
it's not just me. Artie's annoyed by it too.
It's easier when you just see it typed out, because then you don't have to actually hear someone say it. But when they miss-say it, it's different from a mistell.
Yes.
You mean Admiralty?
Admiralty.
Where's the mute button?
Admiralty? Let's see, where's that kick button? I mean... but, yeah, we will have this in the notes for you guys, for console players. Definitely check that out. Kind of maybe plan ahead on what you're wanting to get. Like Neela's saying, definitely get the Kobali Samsar for your account. Don't pick it up off the Epic Tech for this, because you'll get a lot more bang for your buck that way. But, moving along, we have... What the heck is this? So we have a new project. What is it?
I want to do this.
Okay.
We have the Draenor Colony Fleet Holding Communications Array Special Project. With the before picture, you can see where it would be a nice flat area where it would be, and then when you use your mouse cursor to scroll over it, you can sort of scroll over and see exactly where all the building part and the tower would be, which is actually a nice location, because it gives that spot a little bit more life right there, because there really wasn't nothing at the very edge of the colony. So it's a very nice aesthetic,
Yes, yes it is.
which we got it done in an hour.
Must you rub it in?
Yes,
You
because
douchebag?
it annoys you.
Alright, boys.
He enjoys it too much.
And that's why I wanted
You
to do
know
it.
this.
But moving along, we have the patch note, and I say patch note for PC on the 3rd.
They love doing these one notes, don't they?
Resolved an
They
issue
do.
that would occasionally cause map transfer failures.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And then,
I kind of love one of the known issues.
yep, the following traits do not function: expedient care and expedient repairs. Gee, I wonder why they changed that.
Yes. But
So, yeah,
that
that's,
wasn't my big
Oh?
thing. The
Oh, I
event
see.
calendar window for December is missing information and displays the wrong year. You know, I read that and you know what popped in my head? If I could turn back time.
Oh, God.
You know what? I'm just gonna go back
This
through the
one
Temporal
has
War
fun.
arc and just have that playing in the background the entire time.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure me and Kirby were both in the same boat when I originally read that patch note. Actually, we both started singing it. That's what was so scary. But
Time after time.
oh god, no.
No, yes, because that's the song that is much better for that.
Anyway, I also thought, why is Barry messing with the timeline again? Y'all catch that reference?
He wants to save his girlfriend again.
But moving along, we have the Champions of Sompek Round 2 leaderboard.
Yeah. Round 2. Okay, so they've been doing this Champions of Sompek contest for console players. And as a reminder, you can take your friends into the arena of Sompek on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and send a screenshot of the highest level you've reached to ambassadorkale@gmail.com. The top 3 places will walk away with great prizes, and the top 2 will win some rare ships. And you can see the original blog for full details and rules. So here is the current leaderboard. The competition is heating up, and they even have a few ties. Can you do better? Give it your all. And we'll have a definitive winner next week. So the first place right now, Magic 79 Clone and 5 AI Warrior. Sorry, that's the S. Psy Warrior.
Fail.
And they are tied at round 117.
Ooh.
That probably means
yep.
it's the team.
And Granity at round 111. Of course, these are teams. Margetto, or Margetto, however you want it pronounced, round 110. Oh, we got a few here. The team led by Chef Squeaks, the Sorter, T-Bone Tone, 1977, and Locks 888. Each of their teams made it to round 109, and I'm probably gonna get this wrong. One charred face 17.
There you go.
There we go.
Fail.
Round 108. Oh, be quiet, you. So
I'm
there you
excited.
go.
I'm really excited because I
know,
haven't.
right?
My personal team, when I saw this going up, I mean, it was just for fun when we first did this. It wasn't for Xbox. We were just trying to see how far we got on the PC. We got to like 98, and we couldn't get any higher than that because we kept on just like dropping and couldn't continue. Just seeing anyone above 100 is exciting at this point for me. And 117,
I know.
that's outrageous. They must be running in like boss battles and grouped boss battles and crap like that. It's like running into a like the old like Borg ground maps like on Elite.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
But the picture. Why is Commander Bolt there?
Huh, why is he there?
I don't know.
He should be dead.
Don't know.
He should be dead.
He's just looking like a badass right there. He's just standing there going, look what level I got, guys. Booyah.
I know, right?
Still.
999.
But he's dead. He was an imposter. He's dead.
Well, I see
Maybe
a certain-
he's just.
somebody's
Maybe
joined
he's
us in chat,
another.
unfortunately.
Maybe he's another member of their same. What did they call it? Geno. Or biosphere or whatever. Genotype, because they all look the same, remember? As
That's
said
not bad
in
at
Star
all.
Trek TNG.
Oh yeah, they do, yeah.
Yes, they do. Everyone from the same genosphere or genotype all look the same.
No,
Anyway.
The mission, Kirby. The mission. What Commander Bolt reveals.
Well, if you know it, that guy's an ensign.
Ensign, whatever.
Someone's having some separation anxiety from this one character.
I know, right?
And again I say fail, but anyways,
Moving on.
Moving on.
but that's what we have for our articles this week. Now we get to the fun stuff, which is our budget build for this week. And this actually comes at a request from a friend that passed this along to me before the show, and what he actually requested was a ship that we don't really see a lot of people use, and this is one of the Dyson Science Destroyers, specifically the reconnaissance version this time around. He requested a high-end build and everything, so this is going to focus more towards a final product of the ship, or as close to a final product as we can get. We still
also
tried
means
to...
we're going to be. I was going to say it
Okay.
also means we're going to be spending a lot more EC than we usually do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, typically with our higher end builds, we try to get as close to the final product as we can. We still try to keep it on the cheaper side because we don't want to completely break the bank for the person. But, anyways, what we decided to do for this particular ship was we based the weapons in Polaron as a good starting point. Up front, we have our chronometric Polaron beam array. We have our ultra-rare Pep Torp. And we have a Thoron-infused Polaron beam array. In the back of the ship, we have our chronometric Omni, a neutronic torpedo, and a kinetic cutting beam. For our shields, engines, deflectors, and warp core, we went with the 3-piece of the Jem'Hadar. This gives us a bit more control expertise from the deflector, as well as helps to address some of the possible survival issues with the ship itself. So the Jem'Hadar is a very potent set whenever you upgrade it. Then we also wanted to use the set for the 2-set bonus that you get, which is increased Polaron damage, as well as picking up a bit more of drain expertise. For the warp core, it's pretty much the standard warp core we use. Well, our kind of standard anyway, I should say. It is the temporal phase overcharged core from the Butterfly mission. We feature this pretty heavily because it is one of the best, if not the best, warp cores you can get on the free end, or so we like to believe. If you were here for the Delta recruitment event some years ago, then you're familiar with a little device known as the Temporal Negotiator. Basically, the Temporal Negotiator would cut the cooldowns of bridge officers in half for the duration of the device, and this is essentially the same thing, except in the form of a warp core capacitor. Then, for our secondary deflector, this is one that we purchased from the exchange, one of our money items. This is a SA plus damage, Control X times 2 EPG, deteriorating secondary deflector. Wanted to go for this to pick up some extra control and some extra EPG. For our devices, typically we prefer to think of them as personal preference, but in this case we've slotted 2 that we find useful. In this case we have the Subspace Field Modulator, which is a nice little defensive device. You could pop this off and get some damage resistance for a brief time. It does debuff you to protonic damage, so that is something to be aware of. That is a pretty huge protonic debuff that it puts on you. There's not a lot of enemies that use protonic damage, but there are enough of them that it warrants mentioning. Then we have a exotic particle flood battery that you might want to consider, since you're going to be focusing most of your damage through the exotic powers in this case. Now, a couple of things before we actually look at the consoles. There is a couple of things with the builder itself. Now, this is one of the ships, if you remember, it had the fused protonic cannon on the ship. That weapon slot is actually missing at the moment, and since this is T5U, the ship should have had a 5th science console slot. We did include that in the notes, we did include what to put, but I did want to mention that in case anybody noticed something was weird. For our engineering consoles, we have an ultra-rare conductive RCS accelerator with EPG. We were able to pick one of these up for fairly cheap compared to what they normally go for. Then we have the assimilated module. This gives a little bit of control, and it also completes the 2-set to get the Omega weapon amplifier with the kinetic cutting beam, in addition to the critical severity and critical chance it also gives. For 4 of the science consoles, we have the exotic particle focusers from the Crenum Science Lab. These are the EPG Control X modifiers. And then we have a very rare exotic particle field exciter. The one that we were hoping to get cost way too much EC, and we didn't feel the expense was justified for a budget build. Then, for our tactical consoles, we have the chronometric capacitor. This completes the 3-set of the chronometric stuff and gives access to a very nice set bonus, which increases energy weapon damage and exotic particle effects for a brief time. We have our bioneural gel pack. which also gets paired together with our neutronic torpedo and our advanced thoron-infused polaron beam to complete our isokinetic cannon, which is a favorite of mine and Kirby's on these type of builds.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also have our Delphic Terror Generator. This is from the Infinity Box or from the Exchange, depending on where you pick it up. This gives a very huge chunk of exotic damage. Then we also have our Nukara Particle Converter. This one gives, I believe this one was the control. I think that's why we had that.
No, it gives EPG.
Oh, my bad.
21 point something EPG right out of the box. It also gives some drain expertise and accuracy, as well as +5 power to shields.
Okay, I get this one confused with some of the others sometimes, but
Yeah. The assimilated module gives a bit of control.
that's what I think I got it confused with. But anyway,
Yeah.
moving along to our skills. Now for our skills, we have 2 points into the hull and shield capacities each, 1 point into shield and hull restoration each. We maxed out our energy weapon training, and then something we don't usually do is we actually maxed out our projectile weapon training, in this case, since we're going to be using some torps. For our Lieutenant Commander, we have the points into EPS flow. We've picked up all 3 points in the control expertise, including the control amplification, since you're going to be doing a lot of damage through control-based effects. That's just going to add to it even more. We did pick up the improved drain expertise because of the Polaron-based weapons. That's going to improve their drain just a little bit, and could be a nice little kick in the pants to drain their power at the same time. We have 2 points into improved targeting expertise. This offsets some of the accuracy penalty to fall and any other firing modes out there. Then we have all 3 points into our hull plating for defensive value, 2 points into improved shield hardness. Then we have our weapon amplification and specialization maxed out for free critical chance and severity. We have a point into offensive and defensive subsystem tunings. Then we also have a point into the aux subsystem performance. This gives all-around extra power with a little bit more going into aux. We've maxed out our exotic particle generators because Space Wizard. Then we've maxed out our long-range targeting sensors, and this time also the advanced hull pin and everything to take advantage of a lot of the effects that the Space Wizard Powers gives us. Then we have the Warp Core Potential and Warp Core Efficiency for extra power, and especially bonus power whenever we're low. For our specializations, we have the Temporal Operative Primary for some of the benefits that it lends to our exotic build. We also have Strategist to pick up a bit of survival for the ship. Then, let's go ahead and take a quick look at traits. I could not for the life of me find it. Take a quick look at traits, then we'll go to Bridge Officer Powers, because I know Kirby's got a couple of things she wanted to touch base on, more in depth than we usually do. For our personal space traits, this is where we spent a bit more of our EC. You can see we do have some money traits here. We have Ablative Shell. This is a nice trait that anybody could pick up, especially tanks, but anybody looking for survival, they could pick this up for a brief bit of damage resistance and a heal over time effect. Then we have the Psychological Warfare, which improves the effectiveness of our control powers. Elusive for a bit of defensive value, makes our ship harder to hit. Then we have Grace Under Fire, which is the career-specific trait. If you are not an engineer and you want to use this build, then simply swap in your own career-specific trait at this point. We used Grace Under Fire because that is typically what the builder defaults to, is engineers. We have Biotech Patch, which improves the effectiveness of your hull heals. Fleet Coordinator for free damage. The Nanite Repair Matrix for a hull heal. Then we've picked up Particle Manipulator because it gives some extra boosts to our exotic damage. And then finally, Beam Training. For our Starship traits, we have the Best Defense, which gives a hull healing buff to our attack patterns. Unconventional Tactics from Strategist, which gives a damage boost to Brace for Impact. Then Nonlinear Progression, which is a nice little trait that you get from the Temporal Operative. For our Space Reputations, we have the Particle Generator Amplifier to boost our exotic damage. Then we have our other 3 standard abilities, the Advanced Targeting Systems for critical severity, Precision for critical hit chance, and then finally our Aux Power Offensive, which will boost our damage and accuracy based on our auxiliary power level. Then for our active reputation powers, we have our Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity, our Biomolecular Shield Generator, which is an AoE shield healing ability, which is the little green ball you see a lot of people using in space. And we have our Quantum Singularity Manipulation. This is a very potent power. The combination we like to use is to drop this first, follow up with any other exotic buffs that we want to throw out, then maybe crack a gravity well off and throw our Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity on top of that to get even more damage out of the powers. And then this is actually a plus 100 to all science stats boost and a temporary cloaking effect while it is active, so very powerful. Then finally we went with the Refracting Tetrion Cascade in this instance, because if we're going to be grouping up a lot of enemies anyway, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute, then depending on how many you're able to group up, this can cascade pretty heavily before it finally goes away.
Yeah.
But moving on to our bridge officer powers, I'll read the powers off, then I'll let Kirby explain in depth why we chose what we did in this case. We have on the ship a Lieutenant Universal Seat, a Commander Tactical, Ensign Tactical, Lieutenant Engineering, and a Commander Science. Now the old catch with these ships was that depending on what mode you were in, if you were in the Science mode or the Standard mode, you had access to the 4th Science power, and you could not use the 4th Tactical power on the Commander seat. If you transformed into the Tactical mode, that's when you got to use the old Protonic Cannon and had access to the 4th Tactical power on the Commander seat.
Now we do recommend with this build staying in the Standard mode so that you have access to the Commander Science ability.
Yes. But for our powers really quickly, and then I'm going to pass it over to Kirby to explain a bit of this, is we made our Universal Seat a Science in this case. We went with a Science team. This is a bit of recharge to the shields, as well as purges certain debuffs like a subnucleonic based effect. Then we have 1 copy of our DRB-1. For the Commander Tactical seat, we went with a Torpedo Spread 1, a Beta 1, Fa 3, and then Beta 3 for if and when we go into the Tactical mode. Then for our Ensign Tactical, we gave a Fa 1 in this case. Then for our Lieutenant Engineering, we wanted to give a little bit of survival to the ship as well. And since our weapons aren't what deals most of our damage in this case, we went with an engineering team to give a bit of hull healing. Can purge some effects as well. Then we went with reverse shield polarity as our final engineering power to recharge the shields in a pinch. Then for the Commander Science seat, we went with Hazard Emitters 1. This will give a bit of healing over time, a brief damage resistance, and it purges certain effects such as plasma fires from Borg torpedoes. Then we have our second copy of DRB-1. We have a Subspace Vortex 3, and then a Gravity Well 3. But because this could seem like a gaggle of different abilities and everything, I'm going to hand this over to Kirby, and she's going to explain some of the reasoning behind the build.
Yes, so what we did was we gave the gravity well one to group everything up. Then once we group everything up, we want to do a whole bunch of extra damage. So that's where the subspace vortex, because that's going to stay in one spot. So you can, once you got them all grouped up, you can throw in the subspace vortex. That's going to do a ton of damage. And then do it real quick and throw out one of the DRBs, the destabilizing resonance beam. That's going to not only debuff everything that's in your grav well and taking damage, but that's going to put even more damage on them. And then whatever has survived gets nailed with the particle emission plasma torpedo, which with you, if you do it with a torp spread 1, is going to leave this big nasty cloud that is also buffed by your particle generators. So, so then anything that flies into that is going to get a ton of damage as well. So as you can see, this can be quite a nice little death of dance, or dance of death, sorry. Death of dance. Dance of death! And space wizardry and all kinds of fun. If you do things in the right order. Or if you can figure out how it works best for you.
But, anyways, one question I do see in chat, actually, from Steve, and this is a
Yes.
question I do want us to answer, is you and I kind of know what we were going for here, and we know the reasoning behind it, but people that view this later on may not understand why we didn't utilize this. But really quickly, can you go over why we decided not to use the piezoelectric focuser and that stuff in this instance?
That is a good question. And I think the biggest reason for that was because we felt we could get more out of what we did use, and part of the piezoelectric focuser is rep-based, right? Mm-hmm. If I remember rightly. Yeah, so we also wanted to try to keep... I mean, we did use a lot of rep items, and they're items that have been tried and true that we know piece together well. I mean, really the only thing in there that we could change out would be the Nukara console, because that's the only rep item that's not part of a set that's doing something, that's giving us something extra. So, and I wouldn't want to add a new rep item onto there, if that makes sense.
That's kind of in a nutshell what we were going for is...
Yeah.
And the other issue we were debating too, whenever we were putting this together, is we were already running into really high dilithium costs anyway. And, of course, the more dilithium you add, the longer it's going to take to build the ship. And we were already running kind of high anyway. We didn't really want to run too much more. But that is a good question that he brought up. For me and everything, if I was to change it around, like you were saying, we could argue removing the Nukara and everything, putting the console there. You could also try to make the argument of removing the kinetic cutting beam, maybe throwing the piezo beam on there, and try to go that route. But, like I say, when you start getting into that, it's just a whole mess of different stuff. But the big thing, though, is the focus is on the science powers. And that's what we're going to be dealing most of our damage with. In this case, we just wanted to go with Polaron. That way we can get the benefit of the chronometric set, which gives also some extra exotic boosting. And also because we could call into play the isokinetic cannon, which is another nice little kick in the pants, especially with its height of EPG and everything as we're running.
Yeah, and the isokinetic cannon I would recommend for use on single target, so something that has a lot of hit points, like the boss in a mission or something like that, where it's a single target and you can just hit it. It does have a 2-minute recharge, but yeah, but it's nice.
Yep. So, like I say, that was a very good question. That's why I wanted to touch base on it very briefly as to why we didn't do that. Now, you could argue, and you could change that around to include the piezo stuff, but in this case,
You could.
we just felt
But,
that this was the better route.
The other thing with the piezo, and I looked it up to remind myself, it doesn't have any EPG, whereas the one console that's not part of a set does have EPG, which is why we're using it. Because the whole goal with science-based build with Space Wizardry, you want to get your EPG and your Control X, if you're using something like a Gravity Well, you want to get that up as high as you can, because your main thing that's doing damage, and I know this is hard to think about, your weapons are not your main source of damage. Your science-based abilities are your main source of damage here. So yes, we're doing things to boost the Polaron, but if you look at the console that's boosting the Polaron, that chronometric console, it also has EPG. And even the buffs, the two-piece of that has EPG as well. Am I right, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah. So both of those, with that said, are adding EPG to the mix, which the piezoelectric is not. So that's part of why we did that.
Yeah. Which...
But it is a good question.
At that point, it would basically be, what do you think you would get more out of? Would you get more out of going more towards the Polarons, or would you get more out of sticking towards the EPG and that sort of thing? But,
yeah.
Anyways, that is definitely a good question, and that's why I wanted to take some time to answer it. As far as our costs and everything, EC-wise, we actually didn't spend as much as I thought we would, and we spent a little over $73 million. That's, compared to some of the high-end builds we've done before, that's actually fairly cheap. I was really surprised, because I was expecting us to break like 150 mil, but we didn't even come to half that. Then, for our dilithium, this is one thing we were saying, is we were getting kind of high up in the dilithium cost. It's going to take about 100,000 dilithium to buy everything, which includes the rep items, that sort of stuff. You're looking at about 13 days total build time, assuming that only one tune is refining dilithium a day. So, it is a bit more expensive dilithium-wise, but it's a lot cheaper EC-wise than what I was expecting. But anyways, that's our budget build for this week and everything. Hopefully, you guys out there can kind of understand what we're going with here. If you've got any further questions about it, let us know. We'll try to answer them as best as we can and everything. But, anyways, as far as the Bugs Corner this week, I don't per se have any...
Before you do that,
go ahead.
I have a bug.
Chris, he broke it.
I have a bug.
Every time.
Yes, he does.
Switch your camera to in-game.
Oh, jeez. What is this? Oh,
Stay right in front of you.
okay.
Yeah,
What am
I
I
had to
looking
do
at?
it. I had to pull Nemesis.
So that's really what you wanted to do, was just pull a Nemesis.
Yes. But I wanted to make it aneurysm reducing by saying I have a bug.
I approve of this. The RP community approves.
Oh, Lord.
And you people see what I have to put up with.
Well, I have a bug. Chris broke it.
You see, people,
Okay.
what they don't tell you is it's a game to them, and apparently whoever can make me crack first wins some kind of a prize. And apparently any day after that is just double or nothing.
double or nothing. We're on like quadruple or nothing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Exhibit A.
Yep. Okay. So, this was actually passed on to me by a friend,
Okay.
and so this one, every time that you add the ore provisions to the coffer, it adds a small amount of battery provisions to your coffer.
Interesting.
And sometimes when you add battery provisions, it'll add a small amount of one of the other provisions. Yeah.
Well, that's definitely an interesting one.
She's going, I broke it.
But
Hey, I told you I broke it.
what I was actually going to pass out there for you guys is, out there in YouTube land and maybe Twitch land too, is one of the big things we have seen a lot of, especially in some of the stuff I've done for my personal channel lately. I think Kirby's seen a few examples of this, and even some stuff here on the show, we've seen some examples of this, where you might look at a trait and it'll say it gives, like say beam training for example, it might say it gives the plus 5% beam damage. What it should say is that it does it all the time, but it may say it gives it for only a second or something like that. And we've seen a lot of that stuff lately, so if you're seeing a tooltip error like that, please let us know. We can pass that along to them and everything. That way they can get the tooltips fixed. Because that's... knowing what you're doing with your ability, knowing what it can do, is half the battle. But, yeah. That's one of the big things I did want to get your guys' help on out there in the community. Let them know. Let me know. Let one of these screwballs know. They'll pass it along. And we do want to get this stuff fixed. Even if it's just something as minor as that. But, anyways, that's what I've got for the Bugs Corner this week. But, now, moving along, we have Teacher's Corner for this week. What have you got for us this
Yes. So this week's Teacher's Corner was starting an invasion, a colony invasion simulation. So there are a few things which I go over that need to be in place for a person to start a colony invasion simulation, and not everybody is going to be able to do it because part of it depends on fleet permissions. So, if you want to start them and can't, if everything else is in place, your fleet is the right tier and blah blah blah, and you have the amount of provisions, then you might want to check with your fleet leader and see if your rank has the ability to start it, and maybe have a conversation about why or why not, and if you can, you know, etc., etc. So, but yeah, so not everybody is going to be able to start a colony invasion, and I go over what you need in place to be able to do that, and where to go to start it, and, you know, all of those lovely things that you need. So yeah. So I kind of clear up the mystery.
Alrighty then.
Because there has been mystery.
But anyways, we will have a link to Teacher's video. I highly encourage you guys to check that out if you've had questions about the colony invasion. She does a pretty good job at explaining everything and how to start it. But moving along, we have our final segment of the evening, which is the RP Corner with Artie. What have you got for us this week, dude?
Moving right along. Do 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 do.
Phenomena.
Okay. Okay. What I've got this time is I'm going to be talking about RP combat and the different styles I've seen throughout the RP community. Simply enough, I've kind of categorize this into 3 different styles. I know there's some variations among these 3, but you'll see why it's a little bit noticeable between these 3. Alright, style 1, which is dubbed the simple one, which is roll to counter roll. Usually a player would emote what they're doing, like, for an example, they'll be like, yeah, I'm going to target this, I'm going to fire a photon torpedo. We'll see if they actually targeted them, to see targeted to hit the enemy vessel. After that, after they emote, the player would roll, yeah, and then the GM, the game master, whoever's running that event, usually it's not just player run, well, most times it's player run, but that's a different story altogether. Most times the GM would then go, alright, I'm going to counter roll. He rolls whatever for the enemy. If the player wins, then the player actually hits the target. If the GM has the higher roll, then the player misses. Then whoever is at the end, which would be the GM, he's the last person to roll, would emote the outcome. Usually. Some people take the variation that whatever happens, the player still emotes what happened at the end. Say, like, yeah, you got a roll that's high, but you still missed, and you still want to look cool and a badass, the player would still go, yeah, I missed him and hit the wall behind him, but the guy crapped his pants, totally. Yeah, that's totally what happened. But the point I got to this was, this one is a very fair system, but not to the point of that it's very useful. It's fair, and the point that everyone has the same roll system. Like, everyone can roll out of 20, that's fine. But there's not much of a want to be promoted or anything. Like, why would you want to be a captain of a starship if the ensign still has the same roles, right? But either way. The second one, which you're going to laugh, is what I've called the tabletop style, the second style. It's super complex and all that. It's basically roll, add a character sheet, and then counter roll, add a character sheet. It's very similar to the first style, but depending on how the game master runs the events and whatnot, a player would have a set of traits and bonuses here and there, corresponding with background stories and whatnot, and whatever they've learned along the way, different points here, different points there, that sort of thing. Very tabletop style. It's like you might as well be playing in Dungeons and Dragons and not have a story. It's too much math. But players would definitely have to spread skills along multiple different trees of learning, so on and so forth. Say, you know, engineer would have to learn different parts about how a starship runs, different technician abilities, that sort of stuff, you know. And each, depending on how the GM runs it, I don't know, everyone's different. It usually ends up being that the GM runs everything up to the point of what you can and cannot do. There are some points that the GM does have to get, you know, real nitty-gritty with everything, so all the players have to talk to the GM and, you know, have a dialogue with them, because if it's just the GM coming up with whatever stories and has no dialogue with the players after that, the players are most likely going to run rampant, because they'll be like, yeah, my backstory says I'm a badass captain that knows how to do this and the other, and I can marry suit anything. And then if the GM's in the room and they, you know, go back to, yeah, I'm just a regular captain, nothing to worry about, and as soon as the GM leaves the room and they're back to that, that's metagaming and nobody likes that. That's going to be bad for everyone. Also, I will say, if there is no dialogue between the GM and the player, there will be some bad stuff. I'm just going to put it that way, because I've seen it's you can't just simply just say, yeah, you're going to have some bad times if you don't talk about that. It's a whole lot more complex than that. But I'm going to get on from that. Style 3, which everyone's going to look at and go, isn't this style too? Well, no. It's roll, add 5 per rank, then counter roll. This is the lighter version of the first one. Yeah, you can have your backstory, yes, you can have whatever bonuses here and there, but the bonuses are towards what rank you are. For an example, say you start out as an ensign, your roll for doing combat, whatever, is rolling out of 20. Alright, then every rank, saying lieutenant junior to lieutenant, then lieutenant commander, so on and so forth, you add 5 to that roll. So sooner or later, you're going to end up with, as you get promoted throughout the story, you're actually going to have, you know, what you're going to look at as the experience to do things. So it's not going to look like, yeah, I'm the captain and I'm doing the same work as the ensign. No, it's actually that the ensign, it does have a pretty good role to start out, but obviously the person that's up top is more experienced to be in that position, so of course they would have more of a bonus to that role, is all it is. As I mentioned at the beginning, there are variations of this. Some, as I've gone to the point of seeing the super complex homebrew kind of games where you might as well look at it and go, alright, where can I look online for these rules? And the GM's going to look at you and go, I made these myself, so you're going to have to talk to me about it. And it gets really confusing at that point. But depending on how everyone runs it, that's how it works. Other times there's the whole, what you have in-game, like whatever ship you have, whatever items you found along your quest lines and whatnot, actually in-game is what you have in character. And that also gets kind of metagaming, but everyone, that's just me. But, yeah, there you go. That's the 3 major groups that I've noticed out of combat.
Can I just say, you sir, make my brain hurt.
Yeah, this is me when you guys go over budget builds.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I do mine too. So. I'm at the RP.
It is interesting, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Now, I know I said I was going to talk about like the combat itself. That also differs between what event's going on, but simply it's like someone does an action, I roll, or someone does the action, someone rolls. As say I'm GM, I would then roll, and then someone else, then whoever wins gets the last emote. That's just how I do it. So it just works out sometimes. It usually depends on the group, the fleet, the GM style, because every GM's different, as I've seen. So talk to your GMs, figure out how they do it, make it work.
Well, now that Artie has effectively broken my brain for the evening,
I win. Where's my pay up? Come on, Neela, pay up.
I gave you pay
like
up.
I said.
Meal cookie.
Okay.
Anyways, we will have this in the notes for you guys and everything. If you do get curious, feel free to drop Artie a message as he says. Everything, but anyways, that's what we have for our show this evening. Also, a shout out to our good friends over at the Temporal Armada. Very cool bunch of people. You guys will definitely enjoy their radio program. Also, another shout out to our other good friends at the Kurtang Pirate Radio. Very nice, chill bunch of people. Also, another very good radio program. If you guys have any budget builds you'd like to see us do, we do budgets ranging from bare bones all the way up to high end, as you've seen. Typically, the bare bones, the mid-range, and the high end are what we do. And everything. Let us know what ship you want. Let us know your budget. Let us know what your goals are with the ship, and we'll hook you up. Also, if you'd like help with your piloting, you think maybe your build's pretty good where it's at, but maybe you could squeeze a little bit more out if maybe you could get that one little turn right, or maybe if you smack that one little power a little bit sooner, then feel free, let us know and everything. Send us a little video clip of what you're doing now pilot-wise so we can see where you're at, and let us know what your goals are. We'll help you out. But as always, if you got a bug report, feel free, let me know, let one of these guys know, they'll pass it along. If you've got anything you'd like to see Teacher Kirby do for her Teacher's Corner, or anything you want to see Artie do for RP stuff, let us know. But thanks for joining us this week, guys. Without you all, we would not have a show. For now, folks, this is the Pilot Review Show, and we are warping out of here.
See ya.
Later.
Alonzi.